Big Magic, Creative Living Beyond Fear, by Elizabeth Gilbert. Introduction. Imagine this. You're sitting across from one of the most celebrated novelists of our time, a woman whose work you deeply admire. You're both writers, and you've just become friends. To break the ice, you decide to share the story of a book you were once obsessed with, a novel you started but had to abandon, the one that got away. You begin to describe it. It was about a quiet, middle-aged woman from Minnesota, you say, a spinster who has spent her life secretly in love with her married boss. He gets tangled up in a risky business deal deep in the Amazon jungle. When things go wrong and people go missing, she's the one sent down to that chaotic, dangerous world to fix everything. And, at its heart, it was a love story. As you finish, you look up and see the blood drain from your friend's face. She stares at you for a long, silent minute. And then she says something you would never expect to hear. She says, "You have got to be kidding me." Because the novel she is currently writing, the one she is 100 pages into, is about a spinster from Minnesota, secretly in love with her married boss, who gets sent down to the Amazon jungle to clean up a disastrous business deal. And it, too, is a love story. This isn't a coincidence. This is a ghost story. A story about how ideas are alive, how they hunt for us, and what happens when we aren't ready to receive them. This is the world of Big Magic. The author of this story, and the book we're exploring today, is Elizabeth Gilbert. You might know her from her phenomenal, world-changing memoir, Eat, Pray, Love, a book that has sold over 12 million copies and inspired countless people to rediscover their own lives. But Big Magic is something different. It's not a memoir, it's a manual. It's a guide to living a life that is driven more by curiosity than by fear. This isn't just a book for people who call themselves artists. It's for the accountant who has always wanted to learn to paint, the lawyer who dreams of writing a screenplay, the stay-at-home parent who wants to start a garden. It's for anyone who has ever felt a flicker of a strange idea, a quiet calling to create something, only to have a voice in their head whisper, "Who do you think you are?" By the end of our time together today, you will understand the answer to that question. You'll learn how to make a home for your fear without letting it drive. You'll discover the secret forces of inspiration that are swirling around you at this very moment. And you will be given the one thing you might think you need before you can start your own creative journey, a permission slip. Book summary. Let's start with the one thing that stops us all. The one great enemy of a vibrant, interesting life. Fear. You know the feeling. You're afraid you have no talent. You're afraid you'll be rejected, or even worse, ignored. You're afraid someone else has already done it, and done it better. You're afraid your dreams are embarrassing. You're afraid you're too old to start, or too young to be taken seriously. You're afraid you don't have the right degree, the right tools, the right amount of free time. You're afraid your best work is already behind you, or that you never had any best work to begin with. The list is endless, isn't it? It's a desolate boneyard where our best ideas go to die. Elizabeth Gilbert knows this feeling intimately. She says she was born a frightened person, a child so terrified of the world that her father nicknamed her Pitiful Pearl. She was afraid of the dark, of strangers, of the deep end of the pool, but also of things like snow, the telephone, and even Sesame Street. If she'd had her way, her entire childhood would have been spent indoors, on her mother's lap, with a cool washcloth on her forehead. But she didn't get that kind of mother. Her mom was a no-nonsense woman from a family of tough Scandinavian farmers, and she had a simple, almost comical strategy for dealing with her daughter's fear. Whatever you dread most, you must do. Scared of the ocean? Get in. Afraid of the telephone? From now on, you're the one who answers it. For years, Gilbert fought this. She defended her weakness, arguing for her limitations. But then, as a teenager, she had a profound realization. Her fear was boring. Think about it. Your fear has no variety. It has no texture. It's a song with only one note, a one-word lyric repeated on an endless loop. Stop. Fear always makes the same, predictable, boring decision. It's a choose-your-own-adventure book where every path leads to the same ending, nothingness. And what's more, your fear isn't even original. It's the same fear everyone else has. It's the same fear a tadpole has when a shadow passes over its petri dish. It's a mass-produced item, available at any generic box store. Your creativity, your dreams, your personality, those are original. But your fear, it's the most mundane thing about you. Is that really what you want to build your identity around? The panic reflex of your dumbest inner tadpole? This realization leads us to the first great lesson of Big Magic. The goal isn't to become fearless. The only truly fearless people are sociopaths and 3-year-olds, and neither make for great role models. The goal is to learn how to live with your fear. And this brings us to one of the most powerful metaphors in the entire book, the road trip. Imagine your life is a long road trip. You're the driver. In the passenger seat next to you sits your creativity. It's your navigator, your inspiration, the one who makes the journey exciting and worthwhile. But in the backseat, there's another passenger. It's your fear. And it's always going to be there. Fear and creativity, Gilbert says, are like conjoined twins. They were born together. They share vital organs. If you try to kill your fear, you might accidentally kill your creativity in the process. So you don't fight it. You don't try to kick it out of the car. Instead, you make space for it. Before you embark on any new, interesting adventure, you turn to your fear in the backseat and you give it a little speech. It goes something like this. Dearest fear, creativity and I are about to go on a road trip. I understand you'll be joining us, because you always do. I acknowledge that you believe you have an important job to do, to induce complete panic whenever I'm about to do anything interesting. And you are superb at your job. So by all means, keep doing it. But I will also be doing my job, which is to stay focused and work hard. And creativity will be doing its job, which is to keep things inspiring. There's plenty of room in this car for all of us. But understand this, I am the only one who will be driving. You are not allowed to touch the road maps. You're not allowed to suggest detours. You are not allowed to fiddle with the temperature or touch the radio. You are allowed to have a seat, and you are allowed to have a voice. But you are not allowed to have a vote. This simple act changes everything. It's not about ignoring fear, but about setting boundaries. You acknowledge its presence, you respect its role in keeping you safe from actual danger, like walking into traffic or marrying the wrong person, but you strip it of its decision-making power in the realm of creative expression. Because once you learn to travel comfortably alongside your fear, you can finally go somewhere interesting. And that's when the magic begins. This is where we return to that strange story from the beginning, about the two novelists and the one idea. Gilbert believes that creativity isn't just something that lives inside our heads. She holds a view that is ancient, mystical, and unapologetically magical. She believes ideas are disembodied, energetic life forms. They are separate from us. They have consciousness, and they have a will. And their only desire is to be made manifest. Ideas, she says, spend eternity swirling around us, searching for a willing human partner. Think of it, ideas for inventions, for businesses, for scientific theories, for symphonies, for books, all of them are out there, like invisible spirits, knocking on the doors of our consciousness, hoping someone will let them in. Most of the time, we don't notice. We're too busy, too distracted, too consumed by our own anxieties and dramas. An idea might wave at you for a few moments, or a few months, but if it realizes you're oblivious, it will eventually move on to someone else. But sometimes, when you're open and relaxed, an idea finds a way in. It sends you a signal, a shiver up your spine, the hairs on the back of your neck standing up, a feeling of falling in love. This is inspiration. The idea will start to court you. It will arrange coincidences and signs to keep your interest. Everything you see and do will suddenly remind you of it. It won't leave you alone until it has your full attention. And then, in a quiet moment, it will ask, "Do you want to work with me?" At this point, you have two choices. You can say no. Maybe you're too busy, or maybe you recognize it's not the right idea for you. In that case, the idea will politely move on. But if you say yes, you have just entered into a contract with inspiration. This is exactly what happened to Gilbert. Her partner, Felipe, told her a story about a failed attempt to build a highway across the Brazilian Amazon in the 1960s. The jungle was so powerful, he said, that during the rainy season it literally swallowed the bulldozers whole. The moment she heard that image, of the jungle devouring the machines, she felt that telltale shiver. An idea had arrived. It wanted her to write a novel called Evelyn of the Amazon. She said yes. She cleared her desk. She started studying Portuguese. She did months of research. But then, real-life drama intervened. Felipe, an Australian citizen, was detained at the U.S. border and denied entry. The only way he could ever come back was if they got married. Gilbert, who had been through a traumatic divorce and had sworn off marriage forever, was thrown into a personal crisis. She had to put her novel on hold to deal with this immigration nightmare, a journey that would eventually become her book Committed. For over 2 years, the notes for Evelyn of the Amazon sat in a box. When she finally returned to them, she found nothing but an empty husk. The living heart of the story was gone. The idea, she realized, had grown tired of waiting. It had left her. She had broken her contract. This is where we meet the author Ann Patchett. A few years later, Gilbert meets Patchett at a literary event. They feel an instant connection and decide to become friends, writing long, old-fashioned letters to each other. In one of those letters, Patchett casually mentions she's working on a new novel set in the Amazon jungle. And we know how that story ends. The idea hadn't died. It had just found a new, more available partner. It had crossed a continent and been transmitted, they joked, in a kiss. That abandoned idea became Ann Patchett's magnificent, best-selling novel, State of Wonder. Now, Gilbert could have reacted with bitterness. She could have felt robbed. She could have seen it as proof that she was a failure. But instead, she chose to see it as a terrific little miracle, a glittering piece of evidence that her most outlandish beliefs about creativity were true. Ideas are alive. They move from soul to soul. And they will always seek the most willing collaborator. This story reveals a crucial choice we all face in our creative lives. It's the choice between being a martyr or a trickster. The martyr believes that creativity must be a painful struggle. The martyr is the tormented artist, the one who believes you have to open a vein and bleed onto the page. The martyr says, life is pain. The martyr is dark, solemn, and rigid. The martyr believes the system is rigged and that true art requires suffering. This is the path of Norman Mailer, who claimed every book killed him a little more, or Philip Roth, who spoke of the medieval torments of writing. The trickster, on the other hand, sees creativity as a game. The trickster is light, sly, and endlessly shape-shifting. The trickster says, life is interesting. The trickster doesn't fight the universe. The trickster trusts it. He knows that if he cheerfully tosses a ball out into the cosmos, the ball will be thrown back. It might be thrown back crooked, or hard, or not until next year, but it will come back. The trickster understands the one great cosmic truth the martyr can never grasp: it's all just a game. The martyr is Sir Thomas More, who ends up dead in a heap of broken glory. The trickster is Bugs Bunny, who always trots off to enjoy another day. Gilbert argues that for too long, creativity has been held hostage by the martyrs. It's time to give it back to the tricksters. This means approaching our work with lightness, playfulness, and trust. It means not taking ourselves so seriously. The musician Tom Waits, after years of angsty, tormented artistry, had this epiphany watching his children create. They would make up songs, and when they were done, they would just toss them away like little paper airplanes, never worrying that the flow of ideas would dry up. He realized that as a songwriter, all he really did was make intracranial jewelry, decorations for the inside of other people's minds. What a cool, low-stakes job. That realization freed him. This brings us to the question of permission. Who gets to be creative? Who is allowed to make things? Gilbert's answer is unequivocal: you are. You do not need a permission slip from the principal's office to live a creative life. She didn't grow up in a family of artists. Her father was an engineer and a Christmas tree farmer. Her mother was a nurse. But they were makers. Her dad decided he wanted to raise goats, so he brought some home in the back seat of the family's Ford Pinto. Her mom could build, sew, knit, or grow anything the family needed. They never asked anyone for permission. They just did things. They taught her, by example, that you are allowed to be here, and merely by being here, you are allowed to have a voice and a vision of your own. This is your birthright. Look back through your own ancestry. You will find makers, decorators, storytellers, builders, growers. We all come from a long line of people who created things, not because they were artists, but because it's a natural human impulse. In fact, the earliest evidence of human art is 40,000 years old. The earliest evidence of agriculture is only 10,000 years old. This means that for 30,000 years, our ancestors were making art before they even figured out how to reliably feed themselves. Creativity is not a rare gift for a chosen few. It is the hallmark of our species. If you're alive, you're a creative person. So the question isn't whether you are creative, but whether you will have the courage to act on that creativity. And this requires a fierce sense of entitlement? Not the negative kind, but what the poet David Whyte calls the arrogance of belonging. It is the simple, profound belief that you have a right to be here, and therefore a right to express yourself. It's the only weapon you have against that nasty inner voice that says, "Who the hell do you think you are?" You must stand up and declare your intent. Say it aloud: I am a writer. I am a painter. I am an inventor. You have to announce it to the universe, and most importantly, to yourself. This isn't something you do once, it's something you must do every day. And when you do, don't worry about being original. The older Gilbert gets, the less she is impressed by originality, and the more she is moved by authenticity. Most things have already been done, but they have not yet been done by you. Just say what you want to say, with all your heart. If it's authentic, it will feel original. And it doesn't have to be important. You are not required to save the world with your creativity. In fact, please don't try. When someone says they want to write a book to help people, Gilbert thinks, "Oh, please don't try to help me." We can feel the weight of that heavy intention. Instead, create to entertain yourself, to save yourself, to answer your own questions. Do whatever brings you to life. The rest will take care of itself. This leads to the practical side of a creative life. How do you persist through the struggle, the rejection, the frustration? First, you must understand that frustration is not an interruption of the process. Frustration is the process. The writer Mark Manson asks, "What's your favorite flavor of shit sandwich?" Every pursuit, no matter how glamorous, comes with its own lousy side effects. If you want to be a professional artist, you have to be willing to see your work rejected hundreds, if not thousands, of times. That's the shit sandwich. If you love the work enough, you don't mind eating it. Gilbert loved writing so much, she was willing to eat that sandwich every day. For years, she worked day jobs, as a waitress, a bartender, a ranch hand, to support her writing habit. She never wanted to burden her creativity with the pressure of paying the bills. She knew that financial demands can murder inspiration. She was her own patron. It wasn't until her fourth book, which happened to be Eat, Pray, Love, that she finally quit her other jobs. She also learned to let go of perfection. Perfectionism, she says, is just fear in fancy shoes. It's a high-end haute couture version of "I'm not good enough." It stops people from finishing their work, and even worse, it stops them from ever beginning. Her mother's mantra was simple: done is better than good. This is the song of the disciplined half-ass. Mere completion is a rare and honorable achievement. Most people don't finish things. If you can just get your work to a state of done, you are already miles ahead of the pack. This is the mindset that allows you to show up at a formal masquerade ball dressed as a lobster. This is a true story she tells, about a young painter in France who gets invited to a party in a castle. He spends all week making an elaborate lobster costume. When he arrives, he realizes the theme was a medieval court. Everyone is in elegant gowns and armor. He is in a red leotard and giant foam claws. After a moment of pure horror, he decides to own it. He walks onto the dance floor, bows deeply, and announces, "I am the court lobster." The crowd doesn't mock him. They erupt in joyous laughter. He becomes the life of the party and ends up dancing with the Queen of Belgium. That is how you must present your work. You made it. It's the best you could do with what you had. You can't apologize for it. You just have to walk proudly into the ballroom. You must trust in what you have made. But what if you don't feel that burning fire of passion? What if you don't know what you want to create? This is where Gilbert offers her most gentle and powerful advice. Forget about passion. Follow your curiosity. Passion can feel like a distant tower of flame, accessible only to a special few. But curiosity is a milder, quieter, more democratic force. It doesn't ask you to quit your job and move to Nepal. It only ever asks one simple question: is there anything you're interested in? Even a tiny bit? Follow that clue. It's a scavenger hunt. It might lead you nowhere. Or, it might lead you to the most amazing, unexpected places. This is how she wrote her epic novel, The Signature of All Things. It didn't start with a lightning bolt of inspiration. It started with a mild curiosity about her new garden. That curiosity led her to learn about the history of the plants in her yard. That led her to the wild history of 19th-century botanical exploration. That led her on a 3-year journey around the world, following clue after clue, until she was finally consumed with a passion she never could have predicted. It all started with a quiet yes to a tiny spark of interest. Finally, we arrive at the central paradox of a creative life. You must hold two opposing ideas in your head at the same time. The first is, my creative work is the most important thing in the world. You must approach it with utter seriousness and devotion. The second is, my creative work does not matter at all. This is the ultimate trickster wisdom. It matters, and it doesn't matter. You pour your entire soul into a sentence, and then you must be willing to delete it without a second thought. This paradox is what keeps you sane. It allows you to care deeply, but to also let go lightly. This lightness is perfectly captured in one final story from Bali. When tourism first came to the island, Westerners were horrified to see the Balinese performing their sacred temple dances for money at beach resorts. They called it sacrilege. To appease them, the Balinese priests and dance masters decided to invent new, divinity-free dances just for the tourists. They were essentially gibberish dances, designed to be meaningless. But a funny thing happened. Over the years, the young dancers, free from the weight of sacred tradition, began to innovate. They transformed these nonsense dances into something magnificent, something transcendent. The new dances became so beautiful that the priests decided to bring them into the temples, incorporating them into the holy ceremonies. The meaningless dances became sacred, and the old sacred dances, which had grown stale, were set aside. The line between the sacred and the profane, the serious and the playful, had blurred completely. And this is the essence of big magic. Creativity is sacred, and it is not sacred. It is a crushing chore, and it is a wonderful privilege. We are terrified, and we are brave. Only when we are at our most playful can divinity finally get serious with us. Make space for all of this to be true, and you can make anything. The treasures hidden inside you are hoping you will say yes. Commentary. What Elizabeth Gilbert offers in Big Magic isn't just a collection of inspiring anecdotes, it's a fundamental reframing of our relationship with creativity, and by extension, with life itself. In a world that often demands perfection, rewards only success, and romanticizes suffering, her message is a radical act of liberation. The most powerful lesson, for me, is the idea of decoupling our creative work from the crushing weight of expectation. The idea that we can create just for the joy of it, just to see what happens, is a profound release. We live in a culture that is obsessed with outcomes. We want to know, will it sell? Will it get likes? Will it be a success? Gilbert gently asks us to consider a different question. Will it be interesting? Will it bring you to life? Her distinction between the martyr and the trickster is a game-changer. So many of us have internalized the myth of the tormented artist, the idea that to be truly deep and authentic, we must suffer for our work. This is a deeply toxic belief that has cost us countless creators who burned out, gave up, or destroyed themselves in pursuit of a false ideal. The trickster offers another way. A way of lightness, of play, of resilience. The trickster doesn't deny the difficulty of the work, but refuses to be defined by its pain. Instead, the trickster finds a clever way around the obstacle, always trusting that the universe is a place of abundance, not scarcity. This book matters today more than ever because we are drowning in a sea of comparison and self-doubt. Social media shows us a constant stream of other people's polished successes, making it easier than ever to believe that we're not good enough. Gilbert's advice to forget originality and embrace authenticity, to choose done over perfect, is the perfect antidote to that poison. It gives us permission to be human, to be messy, to be in process, and to share our work anyway. So, how can you bring a little big magic into your life today? Here are 3 simple actions you can take. First, have a conversation with your fear. Acknowledge it. You don't have to write out a full script like the road trip analogy, but just for a moment, recognize that feeling of anxiety when you think about starting something new. Say to it, I see you. I hear you. But you don't get to make the decision. This small act of separation can be incredibly empowering. Second, go on a 15-minute curiosity scavenger hunt. Set a timer, and for just 15 minutes, allow yourself to follow the faintest whisper of interest you can find. It could be a word you don't know, a type of plant you've never noticed before, a song you overhear. Look it up. Click the next link. See where it takes you. Don't judge the path, just follow the clues. And third, claim your creative entitlement. Find a quiet moment and say it aloud. I am a writer, painter, gardener, chef, creator. It might feel silly at first, but speaking your intention into the world is a powerful act. It's an announcement to yourself that you are ready to begin. That was a summary of Big Magic, Creative Living Beyond Fear by Elizabeth Gilbert. We've journeyed through its core ideas today, but I have to be honest with you. A summary can only ever be a map. The real treasure is found on the journey itself. The true magic of this book happens in the quiet moments of reading, when a particular story or a simple phrase connects with something deep inside you in a way you didn't expect. This summary is here to help you decide if this is a journey worth taking. If anything we've talked about today has sparked a little something in you, I encourage you to grab a copy. Reading it isn't just about learning. It's an experience that can genuinely change the way you see yourself and the beautiful, strange, and creative life that is waiting for you. A link to the book is in the description below. Also, if you found this summary valuable and want to continue exploring the ideas that shape the world's most successful and interesting people, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. That way, you won't miss our next journey into another life-changing book. Let's keep learning and keep growing together.